Everybody, we're looking at strategies for not just simplifying every single complex word that comes along. And we've made an argument elsewhere in lessons on the Health Literacy Lab as to why long-term that is not a good solution for advancing the public's health literacy. So let's look at 3 simple ways that you really can use more complex words in a text. As we said in a previous lesson, the 3 strategies we're going to practice today are defining the word actually in the sentence, placing the harder word in second or subordinate position, and we'll show you how to do that, and then overall improving the context so that it's much easier for the reader or the listener to guess. And we're skipping and guessing all the time when we come to terms we don't know. So we want to really promote this. So the 3 culprit words we're going to use, I think 2 of them were taken from the language.gov list, are observe, attempt, and transmitted. So let's start with the word observe, the verb. The original text is, you will come to the sleep lab at 5 p.m. and stay overnight. We will observe you sleep. And then the recommended substitution is, you will come to the sleep lab at 5 p.m. and stay overnight. We will see you sleep. And I continue to argue that, yes, there is a difference between see and watch, and people know those words, so let's see if we can bring in the 3rd word, observe. So, as you see on the right here, you will come to the sleep lab at 5 p.m. and stay overnight. We will observe, and then in parentheses, watch you sleep. So that's a very simple way, using parentheses. In the second strategy, you're going to place the word observe, the harder word, in subordinate position after you've already used a simpler word. You will come to the sleep lab at 5 p.m. and stay overnight. In the sleep lab, we will watch how you sleep. We will observe you and pay attention to, and then in this case, your blood pressure, your eye movement, so that by the time you get to the word observe, you've used watch how you sleep, okay? And that is an easier term. So it's easier to introduce the second term, and it increases the likelihood that A, the reader will not really get stuck on it, or can even figure it out. Now, the best strategy is to create a context. And I do understand that this creates a longer text, so you want to use this judiciously. Otherwise, you might be writing texts that are way too long for the average person to want to read. So you come up with the word again. You will come to the sleep lab at 5 p.m. and stay overnight. We will observe how well you sleep. We're going to put aside the simple substitution, but this time, think of a way that we can add to the context of our little story here, our statement, and see if we can make it easier for the reader to figure out what observe might be. So in this case, we add the sleep lab is a place where we can carefully watch how patients sleep. So that little context sets you up. So in essence, where we can carefully watch how patients sleep gives the context, makes it easier to get to the word observe and say, oh yeah, they're going to be watching how I sleep. They're going to observe how I sleep. Let's go to a second word, attempt. First, simple strategy, define the word right in the sentence. So instead of do not attempt to remove the bandages yourself, you will return to the doctor's office next week, then the doctor will remove them. The simplified strategy, which is always recommended, is do not try to remove the bandages. And our argument at the lab is, well, why not introduce attempt? So, write in the sentence, and now let's see what it looks like in subordinate position. You must return to the doctor's office next week, and she will remove your bandages. Do not try to remove the bandages yourself at home. If you attempt to remove the bandages, you might tear your skin. So the word attempt comes later after you've used the word try, and likely is better understood. So that's putting the word, as you see, in subordinate position. You're not starting with the more complicated word. Now, if you think about creating a context, a little more of a story, this is what you get, or can get. You must return to the doctor's office next week, and she will remove your bandages. That was an original sentence. Very often, patients want to take the bandages off because they itch a little. So that's the context that the reader can relate to. But please do not try to remove the bandages yourself at home. If you attempt to remove the bandages, you might tear your skin. Again, a little bit more of a real-world narrative can go a long way in defining a complex term. Let's go to the last word, which I found a wonderful example of how a great strategy was used to introduce a fairly complicated but common in discussions of health and public health word. So take a look at this and see if you can identify the strategy that was used here, and this was provided by the CDC. There is no evidence that Ebola is spread by coughing or sneezing. Ebola is spread through direct contact with infected blood or body fluids. The virus is not transmitted through the air like measles virus. Can you see what they did, what the writers did here in crafting this beautiful sentence, even though it's a long sentence? Well, let's take a look. So why is it successful? Very simply, they don't start with the complicated word. They use the simpler, more commonly understood word, spread. And by the time you get to transmitted, you've read spread twice. And if you wanted to imagine making it even easier, you could add a title. Can I catch Ebola? How do people get Ebola? Can I catch Ebola on the train? Any one of these titles using the word catch sets the reader up for a schema or a story about catching the disease. And then, obviously, if you wanted to add a visual, in this case, a vial of blood, even more context for successful guessing, inferencing on the part of the reader. So to recap, try not to start with the complex word in the first position, but don't abandon using the complex word. Use easier synonyms beforehand in a group of sentences and then introduce the complex word, and think about providing more context generally, which we all need. And last, words are friends, not food. And people are using them all the time. So I think we should partner up with the people we're communicating with and see if we can do a better job at using some of the same language. Okay, have a good day.